War is loud. Explosions, gunfire, marching bootsits, all out in the open. But some of the most important parts of World War II didn't happen on the battlefield. They happened in silence, hidden away in secret files, locked rooms, and behind closed doors. These are the missions no one was supposed to know about. Plans so risky, so strange, or so controversial that the US government kept them quiet for decades. Today we're opening that vault. These are the top secret World War II missions the United States tried to keep hidden from the world. Asterisk. In 1945, World War II was ending. Nazi Germany had fallen. But instead of locking up all the Nazi scientists, the US quietly gave many of them new jobs in America. It was called Operation Paperclip. The goal? To bring over German experts in rockets, weapons, and science before the Soviet Union could get to them. One of the most famous was Werner von Braun, the man who helped build Hitler's deadly E-2 rockets. After the war, he became a key figure at NASA, helping America land on the moon. These scientists had deep ties to the Nazi regime. Some even used forced labor during the war. But their knowledge was considered too valuable to waste. The US government kept this program quiet for years. It wasn't just about science, it was about power, control, and staying ahead in a world that was quickly moving from war to Cold War. Operation Paperclip helped build modern America, but it did so by quietly forgiving men who once built weapons for one of history's darkest regimes. In a war full of bullets and blood, one US unit fought using something very different: art, sound, and pure illusion. They were called the Ghost Army, a top-secret group of around 1,100 soldiers whose job was to deceive the enemy using fake tanks, recorded sounds of battle, and false radio signals. They rolled out rubber tanks, set up fake camps, and played loudspeaker recordings of troops marching and tanks moving, all to trick German forces into thinking a huge army was nearby. They weren't fighters. Many of them were artists, designers, and sound engineers recruited from places like New York and Hollywood. Their deceptions worked. In more than 20 missions, they misled German troops, distracted them from real attacks, and helped save thousands of lives. For decades, their mission was classified. Even their families didn't know what they had done. It wasn't until the 1990s that the full story came out. The Ghost Army proved that sometimes, in war, imagination can be just as powerful as firepower. Asterisk. In the summer of 1942, just months after the US entered World War II, a German submarine surfaced off the coast of Long Island, New York. 4 men stepped onto American soil not as immigrants but as Nazi agents. Their mission was simple: sabotage. They carried explosives and planned to attack factories, railroads, and key parts of US infrastructure. A second team landed in Florida with the same orders. This operation was called Operation Pistorius, a Nazi plan to bring the war to the American home front, but the mission didn't go as planned. One of the saboteurs lost his nerve and turned himself in to the FBI. He gave up the others, and the entire plot unraveled before a single bomb went off. The US government acted quickly. The captured agents were tried in secret. 6 were executed. The 2 who cooperated were given prison time and later deported. The story was kept quiet. No press, no panic. For many years, few Americans even knew how close the war had come to their front doors. Operation Pistorius was a chilling reminder that even oceans couldn't keep the war entirely overseas. Asterisk. In December 1944, during the Battle of the Bulge, German forces launched one of the most unusual missions of the entire war. It was called Operation Grief, led by SS officer Otto Skorzeny. A group of German commandos dressed in captured American uniforms and used stolen US vehicles. Their job: slip behind Allied lines, spread confusion, and sabotage operations from inside. They changed road signs, gave false directions, and sent fake orders. Some even tried to cut phone lines and destroy supply routes. Goal was chaos, and it worked. American troops became paranoid. Soldiers began setting up random checkpoints. Anyone who gave the wrong answer to questions like who won the World Series or what's the capital of Illinois could be arrested, or worse. Some innocent US soldiers were wrongly accused and even shot because of the panic, and several of the captured German imposters were executed as spies. Operation Grief blurred the line between soldier and spy. It turned the battlefield into a place where no one knew who they could trust. It was psychological warfare at its most dangerous, and a haunting example of how deception could be just as deadly as a bullet. While the world was focused on bombs and bullets, the US government was quietly developing weapons you couldn't See or stop. It was called Project M. a highly classified program that began during World War II and continued into the Cold War. Its goal: to create and test biological weapons. We're talking about lethal bacteria, deadly viruses, and poison delivery systems that could target enemies without firing a single shot. Some experiments involved infecting insects with diseases. Others looked into how to contaminate food and water supplies. The details were so secret, even many top officials didn't know the full extent. The program operated under the cover of military research and was closely linked to the CIA's darker experiments, including mind control projects like MK-Ultra. Most of the documents stayed classified for decades. When some were finally released in the 1970s, large parts were blacked out and many files had already been destroyed. Project M reminds us that not all warfare happens on the battlefield. Sometimes, the deadliest weapons are the ones we never see coming. So why were these missions kept secret? Was it to protect national security, or to protect a reputation? Some operations were hidden to keep the enemy guessing. Others, because they crossed moral lines that were easier to bury than explain. Bringing Nazi scientists to America, using art to deceive armies, letting spies walk on US soil. These weren't just wartime strategies, they were choices. Choices with consequences. And long after the war ended, the silence continued. Files locked away, names erased, missions denied, but history has a way of surfacing. And now, as these secrets come to light, they force us to ask, how far is too far, even in the name of victory?